what is the richest game in football, they say, Coventry versus Luton. It is Saturday, 4:45. This used to be on the bank holiday Monday. They brought it forward a few years ago. The Saturday game, pushing the League One and League Two games aside. We'll take a look at the betting that we currently have on Matchbook.com. It's set up to be a tense game here. Coventry 3.35 in the 90-minute market. Luton 2.56. The draw is available at 3.15, and you can see that's reflected in both teams. The score heavily favoured now at 1.8. The Asian handicap line sees Coventry get a quarter goal head start at 1.84, and the goal line is 2.5, shaded a couple bit towards the under at 1.58. So, Mark, I'm guessing the stable diet for this game over the years has been tense, cautious, both teams to score no unders. Do the stats back that up?
Yeah, they do, definitely. You've already sort of given a great intro there about this being dubbed the most valuable match in world football because of the revenue it brings by playing Premier League football. But yeah, it tends to be cagey, tends to be tight. Goal mouth action tends to be quite shy. It's an occasion which is kind of tends to be settled by a moment of magic, a big mistake. Some teams get crippled by the occasion, others inspired. I'll let Adrian do the sort of real proper analysis on the two teams. I'll just focus on the on the trends, if you like, because it's now 25 years since the famous 4-4 draw between Sunderland and Charlton. In the following 24 years, we've had 16 from 24 matches. That's 67% go under 2.5 goals. Over half of those 24 matches, 13 of 24, have featured a maximum of 1 goal, including 7 of the most recent 10. I think this has every opportunity to go under 1.5 goals yet again, and the 0-0 is a potential runner here too. In terms of both teams to score betting, only 5 of the last 22 Championship finals have seen both teams get on the score sheet. Now, obviously, the market is well aware of these previous trends and low-scoring matches, but I think under 1.5 goals at 284 is worth a look. But I think the main play here has to be both teams to score no at around 1.8, 1.83. It's a price that really does appeal, considering the high strike rate. These two teams have overachieved this year. They were 25-1 shots pre-season in the Championship. They're both operating off pretty low budgets compared to their rivals in the division. They're both what I would call excellent teams. There are a couple of standout players on either side, but they are strong teams in every sense of the word. Very well drilled, very well organised, very difficult to beat. And I think obviously when the goal expectancy is low, the opportunity or the chance of a draw increases. And that's why I'm quite surprised to see the draw, the biggest price of the three in terms of Coventry win, Luton win, or the draw at 325. Coventry have lost just once in 19. Luton have lost just 3 times in 27 since Christmas. Both regular season meetings between these two teams were drawn. So quite happy to have a bit of interest on the draw as well. But if it's going to be drawn, it's highly likely to be 2-2 or 3-3. So you might as well back draw and under 2.5 goals and back the 0-0 and the 1-1 at a nice price too. And it kind of goes without saying, but in low scoring matches, in finals, the first goal is key. 18 of the last 19 sides to score the first goal in the Championship playoff final went on to win promotion. So I think there will be an element of fear from both teams, respect as well, and pragmatism from both teams. I wouldn't bet anyone off the 0-0, the under 1.5 goals either. But my main players will be BTDS no and the draw and under 2.5 goals. Both sides racked up 20 clean sheets in the regular season, and both sides conceded just 1 shot on target in the semi-final second legs. They're both very comfortable playing without possession. I just think defences dominate here. Could be a bit of a slog, could be a scrap, but happy to oppose goals. Absolutely.
Okay. To confirm those couple of selections from Mark O'Hare, both teams score now 1.8 around that currently on Matchbook, and then couple the draw under 2.5 goals. You'll find that in other markets on the Matchbook Betting Exchange, 3.8, and that's competitively priced versus the rest of the odds checker grid. And Adrian, maybe for those Premier League supporters that are going to tune in for this game, with obviously all the Premier League games being on Sunday, set up and summarise both these teams from where they come from this season, because as Mark alluded to, given their pre-season odds, they've come from effectively nowhere to be 1 game away from the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think with Coventry City, it's been brick by brick. Mark Robbins has just improved them year on year. They were in League 2, got promoted. League 1, stabilised, then they went up. And then in the Championship, each finishing position year on year has got better. And they deserve their place here. And it would be a fantastic story, for the same manager to take them from League 2 to the Premier League. Just remarkable, especially given all the off-field nightmares that Coventry have had. They've had to ground share other clubs, problems with the ownership, etc. Luton have come from non-league, astonishing really rise from them. great story around Rob Edwards, the boss. Obviously, went up with Forest Green last season, headhunted by Watford, who do a Watford and get rid of him after 10 games. And of course, Watford are Luton Town's biggest rivals. So he rocks up at Luton a few days later and he guides them potentially to the Premier League. I mean, that is some payback from Rob Edwards, potentially, should they win. In terms of the two teams, I mean, Mark said it out perfectly. I agree with everything. I've got the same two selections. For me, they're obvious selections ahead of this game. Neither team are possession-based. Coventry like to counter-attack. They've got an excellent defence. The three at the back are big, strong, resilient. Got a terrific goalkeeper in Ben Wilson. So they're well set up to handle Luton's aerial threat, which is where their strengths lie. They get loads of crosses in. They're really strong from set pieces. Two big guys up top that hold the ball and offer a real menace inside the area. I think Coventry, of all the teams in the Championship, are actually well set up to handle that. So on the counter, Coventry are very dangerous. Got a guy up front called Victor Gyökeres who's been superb. For me, the Championship's top man this season. Always on the move, dribbles with the ball, runs in behind, great finisher, holds it well. So they've got him. They've got Gustavo Hamer in central midfield, a great attacking midfielder as well. For me, those are the two best individuals on the pitch, the two most likely match winners. Luton, it's about the collective. It's about being strong, powerful, athletic, getting the crosses in and getting bodies into the box. But they also defend superbly. They've got one of the best defenders in the league, Tom Lockyer. Two quick, wide centre-backs as well, who again, might be well equipped to handle the threat of Gyökeres. So for me, this has got 0-0, 1-0 either way or 1-1 written all over it. I'll be amazed, actually, if the final score isn't one of those four outcomes. I really would. So, yeah, I think, you look at Luton matches over the course of the season, they averaged 2.09, one of the lowest. Coventry matches averaged 2.26, again, one of the lowest in the division. If you wanted me to pick a winner, I would lean 1% towards Coventry because of Hamer and because of Gyökeres. And you can get, and this really appeals, if we were doing long shots, this would maybe be it. Coventry and BTTS No is available at 5.2, which I think is a terrific price. For them potentially to win it 1-0, or 2-0. So yeah, lots to think about. But for me, likely to be a draw, low scoring draw, and BTTS No feels a big runner too.
Okay, yeah, and maybe just one more pointer to add on to Adrian's selection. If you do fancy Coventry 1-0, 9.4 seems a tad big if one of those score lines is going to be correct, as the guys said. So, and again, your selection, both teams to score now here, you're in agreement with the guys. It's such a massive fixture. Like, maybe as a journalist, what team would you rather come up next season? Because they're both brilliant stories, Coventry and Luton Town, for different reasons.
That's exactly it. And I think it's quite important as well, in that the way football has gone in the last decade, 2 decades really, in that we've had this kind of profound economic stratification, which is basically kind of tiers right down the league. Maybe was best exemplified in the Big Six, even as we said earlier, that is starting to break. But what it's actually done is also, it's almost created a Premier League 2 in the Championship, where you get a lot of the same clubs coming back up because they've benefited from that Premier League money. We've spoken before about kind of how almost Fulham and Norwich City exchange places in the last few years. West Brom have come up and down. Sunderland up until recently, but although now they're on the way back up. Burnley look to be benefiting from that. Sheffield United look to be benefiting from that. But I think what's heartening and encouraging is that both Coventry and Luton, in keeping with the wider stories about the clubs, are from outside that kind of Premier League 2, if you like. And so this, I mean, again, yeah, it's the most valuable game in football. But given the journeys these clubs have been on, it feels about so much more than kind of bringing this down to money. It's about something much, much greater. And, these clubs coming together. I mean, one of the lines we've all heard so often now is that if Luton come up, they actually have to make pretty significant improvements to their ground. But this is about something much bigger than that. All that said, I completely agree with Mark in terms of the kind of what the playoff has become. I was at a dreadful playoff a few years ago between Reading and Huddersfield. Not to dampen excitement for the game.
That was the most boring game I've ever watched, I think.
Yeah, really bad. And I would expect something closer to those lines, especially given Coventry's recent record of draws, rather than kind of the famous 4-4. That's not to say it shouldn't be watched though, because there's be drama within that. But yeah, I would lean towards a draw, but I think both teams to score no. I think this could be a very tight game. 1-0 could well go into extra time, and I suppose both teams score no covers that.
Yeah, I mentioned the calendar being clear on Saturday, the football calendar that is. So all eyes will be focused on this game, and we're lock in those two selections, given that we didn't have a bet in the last one. Both teams to score no 1.8, and if you want one at a bigger price, draw and under 2.5, effectively 0-0 or 1-0 in the correct score market at 3.8. So they're the two selections from Adrian, Mark, and Miguel.